One of the most commonly debated questions in the world of travel says, do you really need travel insurance? Is it a must-have safety net or just another way to burn cash before you even leave the airport? In this video, we're cutting through the fine print and fear tactics to answer this question. Do you actually need travel insurance, or are you being upsold on peace of mind? Buckle up, because the truth might surprise you. The problem: common misconceptions. These days, travel insurance isn't really just a nice extra anymore. It's kind of become a must-have if you want to avoid a huge headache while traveling. The reason is pretty simple. Medical emergencies abroad can get ridiculously expensive, and your regular health insurance often doesn't help much once you're out of the country. Imagine being somewhere new, maybe where you don't speak the language, suddenly needing urgent medical care, and realizing that your domestic insurance basically doesn't cover you, and your credit card gives you nothing either. It's stressful, to say the least. Without the right coverage, you could easily end up with a huge bill that takes years to pay off. So today, we're going to talk about why travel insurance actually matters, clear up some common myths that leave people exposed, and give you a solid guide to staying safe and protected no matter where your travels take you. A lot of people, maybe even you, assume that their current insurance will just cover them abroad, but that assumption can turn into a serious financial mess really fast. Let's take a closer look at the two biggest myths around travel insurance. First up, your regular health insurance. Most standard plans basically stop at your country's borders. They're designed to work with a specific network of doctors and hospitals at home. Once you're overseas, you're basically out of network, and your insurer doesn't have to cover you at all. Even in cases where they do offer some emergency coverage abroad, it's usually just a small slice of the total cost, and you'll have to pay the full bill up front and fight to get reimbursed later. Not exactly a stress-free situation. Then there's the whole idea of credit card travel insurance. Sure, a lot of premium cards advertise it as a perk, but there are some big catches. Most of the time, the coverage is secondary, which means it only kicks in after any other insurance you might have pays out. The limits are also often way lower than you'd expect. Like for trip cancellation, you might only get up to $10,000, which could be barely enough for a long international trip. And when it comes to medical coverage, most cards offer almost nothing. They might help you find a hospital, but they won't pay the bills if something serious happens. To put it in perspective, the U.S. State Department says a medical evacuation by airambulance can run anywhere from $20,000 to over $200,000, depending on where you are and how serious the situation is. Even something like a broken leg can cost a tourist around $20,000 in the U.S. Take a second to imagine that. That's the kind of money that could wipe out your savings in a heartbeat. The bottom line is pretty clear. Assuming you're covered when you're really not is a fast track to financial disaster. The hard truth. Now, let's dig deeper into the hard truth about travel insurance and shine a bright light on the fine print that so many people ignore until it's too late. These are the gotchas that can turn a claim from approved to denied. Pre-existing conditions. This is one of the most common traps. Most standard policies will not cover any medical issues related to a pre-existing condition. What does that mean? Generally, any condition you've received treatment or medical advice for in the 60 to 180 days before you bought your policy could be excluded. If you have a chronic illness like asthma, diabetes, or a heart condition, and it flares up on your trip, you could be on the hook for the entire bill. The only way around this is to buy a policy with a pre-existing condition waiver, which you usually must purchase within 14 to 21 days of booking your trip. Exclusions for high-risk activities. Are you planning on skiing in Japan, scuba diving in Belize, or even just trekking in Peru? Be warned, standard policies often exclude injuries from what they deem adventure or high-risk sports. If you get injured while doing something more adventurous than walking, and you haven't purchased an additional adventure sports rider, your claim will likely be denied. Acts of God, political unrest, and pandemics, natural disasters, sudden political turmoil, terrorism, or even a forecasted hurricane can throw your travel plans into chaos. Many policies have very specific exclusions for these events. For example, if a volcano erupts and cancels your flight, some policies won't cover you. If you travel to a country where your government has issued a do not travel advisory, your entire policy could be void. And since 2020, many policies explicitly exclude issues arising from known pandemics unless you have specific upgraded coverage. The solution: the Smart Traveler's Guide. So, how do you actually make sure you're covered while traveling? It all comes down to being a bit savvy and knowing what to look for. Think of it like shopping for peace of mind. You want a policy that really has your back, not one that looks good on paper but leaves you hanging. Here's a simple guide to help you make sense of travel insurance without feeling overwhelmed. Comprehensive medical coverage. This should be your top priority. Honestly, don't even think about a policy with less than $100,000 in emergency medical coverage. And for medical evacuation, aim for at least $250,000, though plenty of experts suggest $500,000 to be safe. It sounds like a lot, but trust me, a remote air ambulance ride can easily blow past $100,000, so it's better to be covered. Trip cancellation and interruption coverage. This one's crucial if you want to protect the money you've already spent on your trip. A good policy will give you a full refund for prepaid, non-refundable expenses if something forces you to cancel or cut your trip short. Covered reasons usually include things like getting sick or injured, a death in the family, jury duty, natural disasters that make your destination or home unlivable, or even losing your job. Basically, it's there to make sure life's unexpected curveballs don't cost you your vacation and your savings. Lost, stolen, or delayed luggage coverage. While this isn't as critical as medical coverage, it's still worth having. Look for policies that reimburse you if your bags are lost or stolen, and also give you a daily allowance for delayed luggage so you can grab essentials like clothes and toiletries without stressing. Just keep in mind there are usually limits per item and exclusions for things like cash or high-end electronics, so check the fine print. Key terms you must know. Trip cancellation. This one basically covers you if you have to cancel your trip before you even leave, and it reimburses your prepaid, non-refundable expenses, as long as the reason is covered by your policy. Trip interruption. This kicks in if you've already started your trip, but need to cut it short. Usually, it'll cover the cost of a one-way flight home and refund you for the part of your trip you didn't get to use. cfar. Cancel for any reason. This is an optional add-on that gives you a ton of flexibility, but you need to act fast. It lets you cancel for literally any reason, whether it's anxiety about traveling, a breakup, or just a change of heart, and get a partial refund, usually around 50 to 75% of your non-refundable costs. Just keep in mind, you generally have to buy this within 10 to 21 days of making your first trip payment. If you're finding this info useful and want to make sure you're covered on future trips, go ahead and like this video and hit subscribe. Choosing the right policy. When it comes to picking the right travel insurance, it really comes down to your personal travel style and what kind of coverage you actually need. It's not about finding the cheapest option. It's about getting the best value and making sure you're fully protected so that if something unexpected happens, you don't end up in a financial nightmare halfway across the world. A good place to start is deciding between a single trip policy and an annual multi-trip plan. If you only travel once or twice a year, a single trip policy usually makes the most sense. These are typically priced as a small percentage of your trip cost, around 4 to 8%, so it's easy to calculate the cost against your overall budget. But if you're someone who travels 3 or more times a year, an annual multi-trip plan often ends up being cheaper and far more convenient. It covers every trip for a full year, which not only saves you the hassle of buying a new policy each time, but often gives you better overall protection without the repeated stress of comparison shopping. Once you know the type of policy you need, the next step is learning how to compare policies like a pro. Don't just glance at the price tag, use a comparison site to line up multiple options side by side and really dig into the details. Pay attention to coverage limits and per incident caps because you want to make sure they're high enough to handle a worst-case scenario. Understand the role of the deductible too. A higher deductible can lower your premium, but it also means more out-of-pocket costs if you actually need to make a claim. And don't forget to check the insurer's reputation. Reviews and financial strength ratings like an AM Best rating can tell you a lot about whether the company is reliable and has a track record of paying claims fairly. Finally, before you hit purchase, take a few minutes to ask the right questions and be your own advocate. Pull up the full policy document, often called a PDS, and read it carefully. Find out exactly what the coverage limits are for medical care and evacuation, what activities or conditions are excluded, how the 24/7 assistance line works in an emergency, and what documentation you'll need to file a claim. The more informed you are up front, the less chance there is for surprises later, and that peace of mind is worth every penny. A step-by-step guide to filing a claim. If you ever need to make a claim, knowing the process is super important. Step 1. Call the insurer's 24/7 emergency assistance line immediately. This is especially critical for medical emergencies because they have to approve and coordinate major expenses like evacuations. Step 2. Document everything. Keep every receipt, report, and record, medical reports, police reports if something was stolen, emails with airlines or hotels, basically anything that proves what happened. Step 3. File promptly. Most policies have a deadline for claims, often around 90 days after the incident. So the sooner you submit everything with complete documentation, the smoother the whole process will go. Conclusion. To put it bluntly, travel insurance isn't just another optional expense. It's an investment in your financial security and peace of mind. Hoping for the best is not a strategy when the stakes are this high. Medical emergencies and evacuations can rack up six-figure costs that your regular health insurance and credit cards won't touch. And trip cancellations, interruptions, or lost luggage can easily add thousands of dollars of stress on top of everything else. You really have to be your own advocate. Don't get distracted by catchy marketing slogans. Dig into the policy details and watch out for sneaky exclusions like pre-existing conditions or certain adventure activities that could leave you exposed when you least expect it. Always pick a policy with strong medical and evacuation coverage that fits your travel style. The goal isn't to plan for a disaster. It's to make sure one unexpected event doesn't derail your finances or your life. So, as you get ready for your next trip, don't just budget for flights and hotels. Make comprehensive travel insurance a priority. It's a small upfront cost that can save you from a huge headache, both financially and emotionally, and give you the peace of mind to actually enjoy your adventure. If you found this information useful and believe it can help other travelers, please hit that like button and subscribe for more essential travel tips. Share this video with your friends, family, and anyone you know who is planning a trip. Let's make sure everyone in our community is informed and protected before their next journey. Thanks for watching.